Very good evening. Today's topic is Mahatma Gandhi. We will know about what he has spoke about Ahimsa and Satyagraha. Everybody know who is Mahatma Gandhi here. We know he is the father of nation. Proudly, we can call him as the father of Indian nation. So, Mahatma Gandhi is one among the greatest personality of all times, and he has been the creator of independent India. So, along with Mahatma Gandhi, there were other eminent personalities who have tried so hard to bring independence in our country. So, now we see he being has called father of nation because of his immense contribution in a way that he has followed the non-violent path. And this Gandhianism is not a set of doctrines or rules that we would say. It's just a way of life. One should adopt it. So, Mahatma Gandhi, whose full name is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who is popularly known as Bapu, has born on October 2, 1869, at Porbandar, Kathiawar district of Gujarat state. And his family, Karamchand is father and Putli by his mother. So they have belonged to a respectable middle class, that class which is a business family. And his great grandfather and his father and also his uncle, they have served as a divans in some small states at that time, and his mother also, she has been kind of devoted religious lady there. So here if we see, he has completed his school education in the year 1888, and after that he had went to study Lon- he has went to study the law at London. So by the year 1891 he has qualified himself at bar. And after completion he has returned to India, and again after that he had married Kasturiba when he was before that when he was at the age of 13 years he had married to Kasturiba. So after returning from during the stay in the London, so he has moved as with many reformers and also the clergyman, and he has begun to practice in High Court lawyer in the Bombay High Court. So he had left for South Africa in the year 1893 just to conduct, just to take the case of Dada Abdullah and the company there. So, in after going to South Africa, he had led many agitations against their government, and also there in the European settlers, against the European settlers who were there residing there in the South Africa there. So he has launched the Satyagraha program, which he is popularly known for. So he has launched that Satyagraha in South Africa several times. When he has returned to India on January 9th, 1915, so he had rendered a great service to the Indian community who were residing there in the South Africa. So after returning to India, he has set up a ashram which is popularly known as Sabarmati Ashram in the year 1915, which is there on the banks of Sabarmati, and in the Ahmedabad place. So there he has propagated the principles of Satyagraha, and he has made many experiments in Champaran, such as Satyagraha in the Champaran in the state of Bihar in the year 1917, and also in Ahmedabad, which is there in the Gujarat, 1918. So these experiments that he has conducted, it brought up in him a very great popularity at that time. As then in the year 1920, he was elected as the president of All India Home Rule League at Calcutta. So he gave a call after that. He wanted to boycott the visit of Simon Commission in 1927, which he have gave up a call to boycott the Simon Commission. Also, he has launched the very historic civil disobedience movement in the year 1930, and there he has organized Quit India movement in 1942, where with that Quit India movement, where we know the popular saying, do or die. You do it or you die it. So against that British rule. But unfortunately, what happened? Gandhi has been assassinated by Nathuram Godse in the year 1948 on January 30 at Birla House in New Delhi. And if we see the influences that were led on Mahatma Gandhi are, firstly, he is greatly influenced by the Gita. Next, he had read Gita in 1889, which he has made it a companion, a partner for rest of his life there. So he said to himself when he read Gita so immensely, so where he felt that when doubt haunts me, when disappointment stares me in the face, and I see not one ray of light on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita, where he meant whenever there is a dissatisfaction, whenever there is a disappointment, whenever there is a doubt in himself, and something stares as disappointment that is staring at his face, that why it is not being done. So because of that disappointment where within such he is unable to find a ray of light, a ray of hope within the knowledge, so where he is ultimately turning to Bhagavad Gita to find such solution there. So he was also influenced by Jain monk whose name is Becharji Swami. So after that he has been influenced by John Ruskin's Unto the Last. It has enormously influenced his life and the thoughts that he has made up for. So when Gandhiji was there in the prison, he he had impressed with the whom Henry David Thoreau's essay on civil disobedience, which has impressed Gandhiji. So with that, taking his as an influence or the reference, which has made him such an impact, so which has devised him to make the Satyagraha here. So the main contribution led for led the stone for the Satyagraha here is the essay on civil disobedience. So if we see the writings of Gandhiji, he did not know what are the proper writings of those texts, uh, and the philosophy of karma he has not much, but he has authored many several books here. Where if we see few of them have which covers 80 large volumes here. Few if we see Hind Swaraj in the year 1909, Guide to Health 1921, Satyagraha in South Africa 1928, My Experiments with Truth 1929, From Erwada Prison 1943, The Gita According to Gandhi 1946, Cent Percent Swadeshi 1948. So he has wrote these many books, and apart from them, he has also translated Plato's Apology in Gujarati language here. So he also wrote John Ruskin's Under the Last as the stories of Satyagraha, as he has influenced by his writings there. So he has written the stories of Satyagraha, translated as the stories of Satyagraha, the John Ruskin's book, The Undo the Last. And also, he was an editor to many of the articles, namely the Young India, Navjivan, and Harijan. After knowing his writings, we will understand what are his social thought is about. Basically, when we talk about Gandhiji, it first and foremost thing that comes up in our mind is his untouchability. Gandhiji has encouraged the Harijans and the downtrodden castes to have their proper right. So he does not wanted to have such untouchability. So Gandhiji has strongly condemned the untouchability. So it is nothing but an evil practice which is against the society, is what he has believed, and it also degenerating the symbol here, that it is a symbol of what, of a degeneration, where is such losings about something, about the mental aspect, about the physical and the qualities that we tend to observe here are been losing. So he, Gandhi, has included the eradication of untouchability as a basic, as an integral, as an important part for his social reforms. And he also stated he wanted to remove the untouchability out, which is that untouchability is nothing but a punishment to the Hindus caste system, the caste people. So this has this evil practice, therefore he believes it's been taken up as a legacy that has been following from number of several generations there. So here, as he was a far opponent and he had condemned the untouchability here, so he wanted to have that untouchables to avail the right to enter into the Hindu temples, because at that time the untouchables were not allowed to come into the temple premises, nor even they were allowed to have the privileges that other people had. So he wanted to have such right for the untouchables here. And he also brought a Harijan family. Harijans are nothing but the untouchable or the downtrodden people. So he has brought a Harijan family into his life, into his ashram here. So also he has wanted to for the marriages between such Harijans and the other caste peoples. So here if we see, due to his immense efforts here, where this untouchability has been totally abolished, and abolished by the on the backgrounds, on the basis of constitutional safeguards here, which was after independence. So this has been become a penal offense, a lawful offense here. If somebody is practicing such untouchability, they are liable under the law here. So these were the efforts of the Gandhiji who had brought to abolish the total untouchability here. So, where Gandhiji has realized Gautama Buddha, Vardhamana Mahavira, Guru Nanak, Kabir, and other saints, they allowed untouchables to come and join their communities. So, why can't we allow such untouchables? Is what meant of here. So, now we see the Sarvodaya. Sarvodaya is nothing but the progress of all, the upliftment. So here he found that Sarvodaya is a Gandhian solution for the modern social and the economic ills here. So he has coined this word in 1904 after his study of Ruskin's famous book Undo the Last Year. As he was inspired by his book that has been saying that the good of an individual is contained in the good of all. When we are thinking about the good, about our fellows, about the good for everybody that we know, the surroundings, all, then is our good is involved in such, is what he believed there. So, this is achieved only by self sacrifice and non violence. And the purity here is what Gandhiji means to say us here. Also, this Sarvodaya, it stands for rehabilitation of villages here. Means restoring the villages here, as Gandhiji has greatly given an immense support for the villages that are staying, because in India is a land of villages, and on such villages only our uh, people has been based upon, the economy is going as such and everything. So villages are the basic and the integral part of the economy. So that villages is nothing but a symbol of Indian life here. So what happened? There must be the villagers. They must not be exploited on the saying that there is a topic on the development in their cities and the panchayats. There must be an panchayats that should be organized in the villages is what he believed, and the people should elect the members. There must be an election within the panchayat, and they must elect that. Um, they must elect that representative. So here, for Gandhiji, this Sarvodaya, it advocates for a decentralization, and which is a direct democracy. It is. So it is striving for a decentralization. The powers have been divided. The administration has been divided into the state, center, or the villages here. And it is a very direct democracy because people are directly and actively participating in the villages. Hence, this Sarvodaya is standing for the unity and the solidarity here is what he said. So here, this Sarvodaya is a plan of the reconstruction of the social and the political aspects. So it is helping the humanity to solve the many contemporary problems which has a poverty, economic inequalities, trafficking of human beings. Because Sarvodaya is the upliftment. With such upliftment, it is giving the humanity to solve the issues related to the poverty, economic inequalities, and the drinkage and the drinking and usage of the drinking, the usage of drugs, prostitution, etc., and many other things. So it is making the young minds to remain as a selfless, a disciplined person, what he says here, and a patriotic. So we see now his political thought here. So he mostly, if we see the non-violence, basically Gandhiji does not wanted to have, he never saw, I never wanted to have a society that is been following the violent path. He strongly adhered for the non-violence here. So the non-violence or the ahimsa, it means that non-killing, we are not suffering anybody, non-injuring, we are not harming anybody. And more importantly, if it is if there is a will to kill and there is a intention, it is nothing but getting out of that, and a heart where there is a hustle of thought and the word or the act that we do it here. So, if we see, Gandhi's idea of non-violence has been influenced by the Tolstoy book, The Kingdom of God is Within You. As Gandhiji has envisaged for an ideal state and he wanted to have the non-violence here, so he is laying a great emphasis on the non-violence, and he wanted his followers to strongly adhere and to strictly adhere to such principles. So it is the rule that non-violence is nothing but a rule here, and it breathes one life. In everybody's life, there must be a non-violence. We should never harm anybody. There should be no ahimsa as such. So, Gandhiji has distinguished between the negative and the positive means of non-violence here. So he saying the non-violence or the ahimsa in the modern review in the 1916, he wrote that in the negative form, it is like not injuring any living being, whether by body or mind. We should not harm anybody, any other fellow opposite person, either by beating or by our thoughts or by corrupt practices or by something cunningness or the selfishness. We should not. Uh, this negative liberty means in that way. And if we see in a positive way, this ahimsa, it means in a largest love. It in a positive way, if we see it is like a lot of love for an enemy or the stranger. That a person, even the stranger, even the enemy, no matter what he is doing. So, but for his wrongdoing, it is a kind of largest love. And this ahimsa, it is including what? It is including the truth and the fearlessness. Because of such ahimsa path, one will follow of not being fear when one is in the correct path. He should not fear of what he is doing. As such, he has made us the fasting, the purity, the fearlessness, possession, and the presence as the requisites of the non-violence here. So when we understand here, he is letting us know when a person who is following the non-violence path, so he must have to have that, he should cultivate his inner purity here. So he must prepare himself for his self-discipline and the commitment for whatever the work he is doing. The person should be committed and he should not take another way. He should be so dedicated to that and he should be so self disciplined. So, here again, he says fasting, it is also helping a non violent person here. How? By fast, the fasting makes our body little cleansier. It is cleansing out the intoxication that we have stuffed in our body. By doing the fasting, it is cleansing the things, the bad things that are there in our soul and the body. So this fasting helps such person for a self purification here, and such fasting is purifying the one's body, mind, and their soul here. So again, here the fearlessness which is enabling an individual to be non-violent, it is encouraging. It is very encouraging one, and it has a lot of strength here because they are fearless. So this fearlessness is giving a commitment to the non-violence here. Because of such commitment, that no matter what comes in my way, I'll not fear them. That kind of commitment is seen in the non-violence. Next is the non-violent person. He develops the non-possession of the material of life. When a person is following the non-possession part here, so when we observe such attitude of a person, it is like they do not want to own of their own something which they do not want to have their possession in their material of life, in the living of life, is what Gandhiji meant here. So we see his political thought of Satyagraha. Satyagraha, he in the Gandhian philosophy, it is treated as the most powerful weapon which he has started against the imperialism brought up by the British rule there at that time. So it is like adhering and or to sticking up to the truth of all the circumstances that goes on. So here the person or the satyagrahi is believed to have a belief in the God and the ahimsa here. So here satya means true and the agra means sticking, the all holding upon it. So this satyagraha is nothing but is the persistence in the truth. We are holding on what is true. We are sticking up on the truth here. So there is a saying, Dharmave Jayati, means always the truth wins. Or there is another saying, Satyameve Jayate, which means truth triumphs. A famous saying, truth only wins in the many of the time. So defining such satyagraha here, Gandhiji, he meant to say it is nothing but holding on the truth, what it is. So this is known as a sole force, a single force, the main force. So it does not include the use of violence here because the man who is using the violence or the man in a normal way or in a general, if we see, generally a man may not be knowing of the proper truth here. So such this word was coined in South Africa just to make the differentiation of the non-violent resistance of the Indians in South Africa from the contemporary, from their dynamic, from their changing passive resistance of those suffragettes and the others at that time in the South Africa. So he has coined this word in 1906 in South Africa just to make us know the nature of the non-violent actions. So non-violent actions in South Africa because people in South Africa were treated on the basis of racism there. So later on, after doing such, he has made this satyagraha used up in the Indian national movement as a symbol of love force and soul force and the non-violent nature. So here a satyagrahi, here Gandhiji, what he did, he has differentiated a difference between satyagraha and the passive resistance. He is saying that passive resistance is nothing but we people are opposing the government It is a way of opposing the government, and it is not by the violent method but by not following their laws, by not obeying the laws as such, by not respecting the laws as such. So here he had made up a differentiation between satyagraha and the passive resistance here. So whereas satyagraha is a positive weapon, he meant, and it is a superior, the topmost of the soul force, he meant, over the other physical force. So when this passive, on the contrary, if we see this passive resistance is a very political weapon, because this is nothing but you are opposing or you are not obeying the laws that are prevailing in the state. It is nothing but the way you are opposing the government. So here he is saying that a satyagrahi or satyagraha is nothing but it is a weapon of the brave. A brave only will be there in a position to have such satyagraha. Next he says this passive resistance, on the contrary, he is saying that it is a weapon of the weak. Because we cannot have that power to follow the satyagraha. They could not resist for the truth or they could not fight themselves. So that's what this passive resistance is nothing but a weapon for the weak here. So here if we see Satyagraha, which is meant to have this political ends, it is based upon the three articles of faith, which are always belief in non-violence. Satyagraha says that one should believe in the non-violence. And here they say, so that belief that there is no government. So the government should have the cooperation between its institutions, within its institutions and administrations. But there must be a belief that a government can exist only when there is cooperation, but it cannot exist without the cooperation of the people. There must be a willing of force here, and the people should withdraw their cooperation. They should not cooperate with the government or wherever we are leading the satyagraha. But the government would, when it is seeing if it is can exist, as it cannot exist if there is no such force or no such willing that is there in the people that is drawing the attention of cooperation. So where in such a way that government will remain as a standstill where there is no movement of the government whether to go further or the backward. In next we see the sufferings and the sacrifice here. If we see the sufferings and the sacrifice, so there is no such country who has risen the issue of being purified from the fire of suffering. Sufferings is only done with the fire, basically in the Indian Hindu society. Now, if we see, as he is saying, as a mother is suffering, a mother who suffers for her own child suffers in the way like she nurtures her in a such a way it is a kind of suffering, but though she looks up in that a way he is comparing there. And next example, if we see the suffering, the paining is what, where if we see the wheat growing condition, how the wheat has been grown because of the seed there. So that seed gain should be perished up here, then only there we can see the wheat. And he gave up the call for the satyagrahi, stating that to do or die, to die for a cause in the law of man, to kill that of beast, he meant to say. When it is related to something that is related for the man causes here, one must has to die. And if there is a beast kind of nature, their killing is better, is what he meant to say. Now we understand the forms of satyagraha. We see non-cooperation, civil disobedience, hijrat, fasting, strike, religion and politics, and means and ends here. So, non-cooperation is nothing but you are not cooperating or you are not having such cooperation with those who are doing the injustice, who are being oppressed, who are oppressing the other people. We are not cooperating with them. So that person, the whoever is doing the injustice, they should not be given the support is what Mahatma Gandhi believed here. And that the oppressor who is slaying such, he should feel that he is alone and he should not be supported for his unlawful acts here. As we know, as Gandhi said, that non-cooperation is a very harmless because people are not cooperating, but they are not going in a very violent way. So such that it is not a harmless movement, but that harmless than the civil disobedience. Because only here, what are we doing here? Only we are not cooperating. So, in the year 1920, the Indian National Congress has started the non-cooperation movement here under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Against whom? Against the British colonialism. Next is the civil disobedience. Civil disobedience, if we see, it is nothing but the way of fighting a powerful enemy. Like we said, civil disobedience is nothing but we are not agreeing with the laws. So we are not obeying the unjust laws. We are against those anti-social laws here. So Gandhiji has started this civil disobedience movement in the year 1930 against the British undemocratic laws because the laws that are made by the British government were not suiting for all and it was a kind of monarchical and it was not such of a democratic one and they are like undemocratic laws. They are not suited for the country. Next is the Hijrat. It is nothing but a migration that we are doing from our permanent the place where we are staying. We are moving from there to the our another place of residence. So Gandhiji felt that if somebody is not taking the satyagraha, which is against the industries, which is against the oppressor who is oppressing the poor, he should leave such ancestral place is what he meant. So he said that it is a measure. This hijrat is nothing but a measure against the oppressors. So here he has devised this to the Harijans, the untouchables, to fight against the upper classes who were there in Bihar. And also he has recommended to devise the people of, to mold the people of Bardoli in 1926. And also Junagar, Vittalgarh and the Limadi in 1939. Next is the fasting. So he says that this fasting is the most effective and the fearful weapon here. But this fasting should be not taken on regular basis, but it should be taken on very rare occasions. So as we know, if we fast, our body may cleanses. It detoxicated itself and then it leaves down a purity concept. So this is making an employment for punishment and the self purification and for resisting whatever there is an injustice that is done in the civil by the evil doer. So this fasting, normally we cannot put a normal fasting, but the fasting that we are doing for some cause should have the discipline, should have the mind, and should have the humanity, and there must be a faith in such doings. So it is strengthening the moral fiber here. Next is the strike. So here he said that it is an another weapon which one has to fight against his oppressor here. So here if we see, he said that one has to do a strike against the unlawful activities. So here he want unlawful activities of the home of the industrial. Strike is only done against them. So where he wanted to have those people, those organizations should mainly aim of having a equal and the right, their rights and also their equal status against the capitalist here. So he only favored the strikes which were based upon the non-violent. So he said that a strike can only be successful if it is not aiming at the destruction. They should follow the non-violent path here. Simply. Now we see the religion and politics here. So he felt that religion and politics it must go hand in hand. They are not a single concept. That is what we have also learned in the Dayananda Saraswati, where he also regarded the same point, stating that it should not be separated. Religion should not be separated from politics, and politics should not be separated from the religion. The same way, Mahatma Gandhi is also propagating that it should go hand in hand. So this religion makes up or brings up the morals. So according to him, conception here, this religion is totally based upon the truth and ahimsa. So one should have faith in the God, and that person should be fearless and he should be bold. And only that person should fear of what? Of the God only. So for that person, the ultimate God is nothing but the truth and the love. Here, what Gandhiji meant to say. So this politics, that's what he considered that there is no politics without the religion. As the religion is based upon the moral grounds as such. So here he is saying that there are no politics without religion. And we here see that every human person, they act or they have a religious background. And now we see the means and ends, the starts, the meaning, the main reason, and the end, the goal. So according to him, they are the two inseparable words. They are not separated, they are inseparable. They are equally pure. So here he we see the end, the main aim. It should not only the end should not only be high. It should not only be that much of a high pitch that should be listened, but the means should also it has to have the moral here. So it is how the means are, so the end is. So it means that as the means, so the end. So if something is going in a correct order, then only it can give you the fruitful results. So as the means, as the end. So if we tend to have such example, they are linking it to a seed. When a seed is sown properly, it is giving a rise. The end here is nothing but a tree here. So it has a connection between the means and the ends. So, as there is a connection between the seed and the tree, because a seed being the means, with such means only ultimately the end. The end is what the tree is giving us a flower or giving us a fruit here. So, as the means, as the end. But he also said an importance that this means should not be taken for granted here, and it should not, and he had also not attached this to the importance of the end here. So here he's meaning meant us to say that the means and the ends are inseparably connected. So he is insisting that whatever our means are, it should be pure. It should be pure as our end. When the end is pure, so are our means are. When we want to start up a good work, we should make the work, the proper work, with the proper means here. So it would produce a very fruitful results of such work done, right? So finally he said that those means just justify the ends here. So now we see his economic thought. So where he is talking about the trusteeship. So trustee. The trustee is nothing but who handles or the one who looks after the wealth or the money or the property that some should have. So here he means that whoever is owing some capital, they must be acted according or they must be seen as a trustee of that capital. Oh, for him, he is making the difference between the maximum and the minimum wages when made up, it should be of reasonable. The wages, whichever the minimum wages, it should not have such differentiation. If there is a minimum wage, that wage that is been setting up should be reasonable. Why are you keeping such wage, such minimum wage for such worker? It should be justified. It should have a proper reason here. So here Gandhi he wanted to transform the system of capitalism, and he has preached the doctrine of trusteeship. So we tend to see the points that he is talking regarding the trusteeship here. So this trusteeship is nothing but a means of transforming, a changing of the present capitalist order, the present scenario, because capitalism has divided the society, but he wanted to have such capitalist society which should be seen up into a egalitarian one, into a equal one here, so that it is not giving a small percentage to the capitalist or the owning classes, so that they can have a chance for making themselves reform here. So this is totally based upon the um, human nature, faith of the human nature here. It is something the beyond the process. So under this Gandhian economic order, if we see, it is nothing but it is a character of production that is determining, that should be determined, or that will be determined by the social necessity here. It should see the societal needs. What is the societal or the social necessity that is striving, that is there in the state here, by not what a person wants, or not by the person's sudden change of his greed here, not what his a person's own satisfaction. So, if we see Gandhi said in the trusteeship, it does not recognize the right of private ownership except as it is permitted by the society for its own welfare. So, they are not recognizing the private ownership here until and unless it should be permitted by the society. On what? On the capitalism. It should welfare. The capitalist should welfare the people here is what they meant to say. So this state regulated trusteeship as under the state, if the state is regulating such trusteeship, then there we will not see that an individual or he's not that free, or he may not use his wealth for his self satisfaction. Here we have to observe, which is such a disregard against the interest of the society. If it is under the state regulated trusteeship, if it is not under the state, so an individual will go for his own selfishness or his own self satisfaction. So there must be a state regulation. So where he also said that there must be a proper fixed up of the living minimum wage, and there must be a limit for the maximum income that could be allowed in a person, and nobody should have beyond the limits is what he wanted to say, the minimum and the maximum wages. So whatever the minimum and the maximum wages or the incomes that are there, the differences between subs, that it should be reasonable and it must be equitable, and also it must variable, it must change from time to time as such, so that it may not have a tendency towards the uh, kind of action of differences here. This is the economic thought of Mahatma Gandhi is. So now we see the conclusion that we can conclude here, knowing about the Gandhi. Gandhi, he being a very great leader and also a great reformer, and he is a very great revolutionary. So his doctrines, as we know, it is nothing but a part of life. It is a part of life. So as his doctrines of non-violence and the satyagraha, as he being a great revolutionary, his doctrines of non-violence and satyagraha has revolutionized the entire Indian approach. He had discovered the new pathway of finding the truth. So he also had applied the old and the eternal truths for the modern problems that could be suitable in the contemporary society. He had applied the old and eternal truths here. So if we see, many of the people have given tributes, even including the world leaders, to the Gandhiji. But as Dr. John Hines, he says that he went to the saying, now see, what he's saying that he was now Gandhiji was the greatest man in the world after the Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. He's comparing Gandhiji with the Jesus Christ there. So such a great comparison where Dr. John Hines is saying he went to that extent that he's comparing him with a spiritual soul there. And here, if we see, there are many other um, people like C.N. Jode and Sir Stafford Cripps and Louis Fishker and also Jayaprakash Narayan. They have commented on the Gandhiji and their philosophy and their he being a spiritual leader and he being a saint and he being a politician. He has commented and he also said he Gandhiji and another is Alexander Horace. He just made Gandhiji is nothing but a convinced socialist here. Because when we see the socialist principles are basically the directive principles are basically in socialist in nature, which are basically had a Gandhian influence on them. So now to conclude, we see here Gandhiji had contributed very immense to the political thought here. So he has gave up a new ideas, new solutions, and these solutions, and he also made the idea of religion and the politics as being a same here, as been a compatible here. So if we understand, he is nothing but a man of action. He being a very ideal political thinker here, and he being a nationalist and an internationalist. So here Gandhiji has gave up a new meaning for the game of politics here. He has used as he has derived a few devices such as love, sacrifice, sympathy, and truth, and the non-violence here as such. So in this way, by propagating the love, sacrifice, sympathy, truth, and non-violence, he gave up a new meaning to the game of politics here. So this is what the thought on Mahatma Gandhi as of our today's topic. Thank you.